If you do your best and you get better at it and you keep doing your best, you keep getting better at it, like all things in life, you do better at creating a healthy environment for all the people around you too.
When you say it that way, it's like if everybody in America exercised, even 20 minutes a day, 30, right?
It'd be a better world.
It'd be a better world.
100%,
right?
100%.
Everybody get along a little better.
Yeah, I don't think there's any denying that. I mean, for some people it wouldn't work. Oh, yeah, well, my dad worked out 20 minutes a day, he was still a dick. That's the outlier. But if you look at the mean, if you look at overall, like if you've got 330, I mean, for some people it wouldn't work. Oh, yeah, well, my dad worked out 20 minutes a day, he was still a dick. That's the I mean, for some people it wouldn't work. Oh, yeah, well, my dad worked out 20 minutes a day, he was still a dick. That's the outlier. Right. But if you looked at the mean, if you looked at overall, like if you've got 330 million people or whatever worked out 20 minutes a day, he was still a dick. That's the outlier. Right. But if you basic stuff.
Yeah.
Basic stuff.
I've met enough, as you have, I've met enough, we'll call them killers from martial arts, where they're very humble. They're very nice. And me, not coming from that background, I'm shocked, right? Because I'm expecting a pit bull, but I'm getting a golden retriever.
Yeah.
And I think it's because they work out every day and they've been humbled and they do hard work.
Yep.
And so it takes the edge off.
Yep. It's also they don't have a need to prove themselves.
Yeah.
They know what they can do, and they're not trying to puff their chest out and like intimidate everyone around them. They're friendly. They're like jiu-jitsu is a perfect example of that, because jiu-jitsu, there's only one way to excel at jiu-jitsu. You have to spar. So you can't pretend. You have to be in there getting strangled or strangling people every day.
You become humble.
You get humble. Right. It happens. I mean, I don't know how many times I've tapped out, but it's a lot. It's thousands.
And you got to make that decision at that moment.
It's gonna happen. Especially, like, if you want to get a black belt, you start at a white belt. That means you're gonna get fucked up. I mean, there's just no way around it. But there's great lessons in learning. There's like you get your blue belt, you're like, oh, I'm getting really good at this, and then you roll with some purple belt, smashes you, and you're like, fuck, I'm terrible. And then you get your purple belt, you're like, I'm doing pretty good. Some brown belt fucking squashes you, you're like, fuck. Right. Like there's it's just like you try to
you always make level.
Right.
Yeah, I like that.
And then there's always room to grow and learn. You don't want to be the master. You want to be the guy who's seeking to improve. Because there is no real, I mean, there are masters. There's guys that are at such a high level that unless they run into another master, they're gonna do the squashing. But then they train with those other masters. They train with each other all the time, and it's beautiful to watch. Like really high level guys tap each other out, and you realize like this never ends. This never ends. Yeah, Helson Gracie had a very famous description.
Where you going, Mom?
Jiu-jitsu is like,
the car. That's a nice
you
place.
Respond.
Huh?
I respond to your response. That goes on forever. Forever. That's jiu-jitsu.
I like that.
I attack, you defend. I attack, you defend. Forever. That's jiu-jitsu.
I like that.
Yeah.
Given that, you're president again. Couldn't we do what Israel does? Couldn't we have 1 year? It doesn't have to be military,
It's not a bad idea.
right?
Yeah,
One year, just
mandatory,
kick everybody's ass for 1 year.
It's not a bad idea. The problem with that is, again, the freedom thing. You want people to be able to do whatever they want, but you also get a lot of service out of your country, right? You get a lot. There's a lot that we all benefit from having a fire department and a military and clean streets and sanitation and all the different. The fire department takes care of everybody's fire, right? The police, you call 911, theoretically they show up to help you. That's something we all pay for. This is something that brings us together as a society. And what separates Israel, I think, first of all, Israel is surrounded by people that they're in conflict with, so they feel like they have to have that. But the fact that they have this mandatory military service, they're very proud people. And there's a lot of patriotism when it comes to Israel. Some would say that's bad. Some people would say that's bad. Some people would say that's good. I think there's real benefit to some form of service. I don't know if it has to be military service. I don't know what it has to be.
I like the bonding that probably occurs. Same thing with our events, but every culture has had a rite of passage.
Mm-hmm.
We don't like. Right. I'm doing it with these children on it. Like, we need it.
Yes, I think human beings do need a rite of passage. I think that is important. And these traditional cultures that have had these rites of passage, that's to signify that someone is coming of age. This is an adult now. You've gone through this process, and this is like a belt ceremony.
Right.
Like you get your black belt, man, they tie that around your waist. Like, that is a moment that you'll never forget.
You graduated.
Yeah, you graduated. You made it. And I think as an adult, like, sometimes people have to know, I am an adult now. I'm held to a different standard. I need to hold myself to a different standard. I can't just fucking be a ne'er-do-well and fucking skip my way through this life and live off of unemployment and fuck people over and scam my way through life. No, I want to be noble. I want to be respectable. I want to be someone who I respect.
Good citizen.
Yeah, you want to respect yourself. You want to appreciate yourself. And I think
I should have boxed him out.
It's hard to do that. It's easy to do nothing, but it's hard to do nothing, because if you do nothing, you're gonna live a hard life. It's gonna be a sucky life.
Fudge.
You don't realize it, but everybody pays.
Fudge.
You pay no matter what. Either you pay now,
or
you pay with regret. You pay with a lack of success. You pay with a sloppy body and a fucking weak mind that falls apart at any challenge. You don't have any structure. You've got no rigidity to your thoughts. You don't have any resolve in your mindset, because you've never been tested. And a person who goes through life without ever been tested is a sad person. The saddest thing is seeing a person who's never been tested when the shit hits the fan. And that's one of the things we're seeing from COVID. We're seeing a lot of people that just have weak minds, and they're just panicking and screaming at people, wear a mask! People on the other side of the street, and then,
because they never faced tough times.
Yes, they don't know.
Yes.
They don't know how to buckle up.
Right.
They don't know how to strap in.
What?
They don't know how to overcome.
No.
The stress level that comes with the pandemic is freaking them the fuck out. And that's one of the reasons why social media is such a fucking shithole right now. It's so bad. It's because so many of those people are shut-ins. So many of those people are shut-ins who've never been challenged. They don't really know who they are. We're saying, like, when you do a race,
you meet
do
yourself.
You meet yourself.
Yeah.
These people never met themselves.
No, I know.
So all they're doing is judging other people, constantly bitching and bickering about other people. You need to learn a lot from someone about how much attention they spend on other people's failures,
right.
How much time they spend pointing out other people's failures, and how little time they spend reflecting on their own.
Yeah. No, that's what we think about our business. We say we shine a mirror in your face, right?
Yeah.
You get to find out. By the way, anybody could be good when times are good.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, you gotta. I mean, that's what I like about physical pursuits, man. You find out who the fuck you are. You find out whether or not you're that person who can keep going, whether you're that person who is consistent. So many people, they start off like, I'm gonna run a mile a day, and they run a mile a day for a couple of weeks and they fuck off. It's consistency. This showing up when you don't want to show up, forcing yourself to do things you don't want to, but then reaping the rewards and learning. Like, if you just worked out every time you felt motivated, you're not going to ever really get in shape.
No.
Right.
You're not going to.
No, it's got to be discipline.
You got to have discipline. Motivation's great. I love it. I love music. I love watching a David Goggins clip online, or Cam Haines, or or Jocko Willink or any of these savages. There's so many people out there. You could watch one of their videos where they tell you what to do, and you just get fired up and you want to go do it. But that's not always going to be there for you.
No.
Sometimes you gotta just
check the box. This is what I'm doing every day.
Yeah, you get
rain
used
or
to
shine.
doing it.
Yeah.
This is what I do. This is what I do.
No, I agree with that.
I love the fact that you're spreading it. That's what I love. I love the fact that you're forcing these kids to do these things, and then you're putting together these.
That would have been so nice. One of these days, I'm gonna make that.
To train for an event, and that's big, man. Events are big
for us, and you'll appreciate this one. This is for most people. I mean, we get pre-COVID 1.6 million people a year doing these events. Okay.
How do I miss?
And
how do I miss?
This is the biggest thing they've ever done. This is
like, how do I miss that?
Right.
This is the Olympics.
Yeah.
They just became a Navy SEAL. Right. And all the benefits.
I don't think I have
like,
the right. I don't have the right.
You can't even believe the
package.
transformations that happen to all these people and the letters I get.
I need a
I
floater
get paid in that
package.
currency.
Right.
Of like, oh, you changed my life. I'm back with my husband. I'm back with my wife. I lost weight. I gave up drugs.
I got a thought. What if you put together like an online thing where the people are accountable, but because of COVID, you tell them that event is going to happen, the event's going to take place in 6 weeks, and this is what you need to do. And then you need to mark your time. And
every day.
Maybe you have an app, or maybe even simpler, they just use a fucking timer on their phone, and say, okay, ready, set, start your timer, and then you have to complete all these things, and maybe you have a checklist on your website where they can check off all the different things that they have to do during that day and get it done. And maybe someone like that 600-pound dude takes him 7 hours, and the average person takes him 90 minutes, but everybody does it together, and then as a community, they all report it, put it up on Instagram, maybe with hashtags.
A little ranking.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, give these people an event without having a physical look. I mean, look, there's probably nothing better than that physical
why
location.
I can't just
you all
sit
get
there
together, and the camaraderie and the energy of all the people together running
hold
together.
my hands up.
It's not the same. We did a very big virtual event. What you're saying, we registered 3.9 million people in this virtual event, but I don't know how many did. You know what I mean? Right. And then what I like, what you just said, was I didn't have the lead up every day. Did you do your 100 push-ups? I like that part.
Yeah.
That's the part that excites me.
Yeah.
Right. But a virtual event, you could kind of get away with cheating, like in the sense that.
Yeah, but you cheat yourself.
You and I know that.
You got to tell them
I know
that
you weren't gonna make that.
Just let them know.
No, but if you and I, if we were signed up for September 1st, we're going to do a Spartan. We got to show up, and you don't want to be embarrassed. I don't want to be embarrassed. But with the virtual, you could kind of hide behind your couch. Yeah, I did, right?
True.
So that means you might not do the push-ups, but I still like the idea because maybe 50,000 people every day will do it. Right?
Yeah.
Like, it's something.
And it'll have an effect. I agree that it won't have as big an effect as if you're doing it live. I think the way you do it live is awesome, and that's the best effect. But you got to do what you got to do when times change.
Yeah, it'll come back.
Yeah,
I mean,
hopefully. I never thought this was going to happen.
Yeah. And what's the story? You moving?
I'm out of here. Yeah.
When do you leave?
Soon. Yeah.
Texas or?
Yeah, I'm going to go to Texas.
I got a farm in Vermont.
Yeah.
It's a little cold.
I'm just missing.
I just want to go somewhere in the center of the country, somewhere it's easier to travel to both places, and somewhere where you have a little bit more freedom.
Why, bro?
Also,
why did you just wrap them up?
Where we live
Come
right
on,
here
bro.
in Los Angeles is overcrowded, and I think most of the time that's not a problem.
Well,
But
we're
I
in
think
30
it's exposing
seconds,
the
so
fact that it's a real issue
maybe
when you look
do
at the number
isolation.
of people that
Isolation
are
runner.
catching COVID because of this overpopulation issue. When you look at the traffic, when you look at the economic despair, when you look at the homelessness problem that's accelerated radically over the last 6, 7, 10 years, I think there's too many people here. I think it's not tenable. I don't think it's manageable. And I think every mayor does a shit job of doing it because I don't think anybody could do a great job of it. I think there's like certain things you're going to have to deal with when you have a population of whatever the fuck LA is. It's like 20 million plus people.
It's too many people.
It's too many people. Right. Yeah, that's what I think. I think where you're living is probably the perfect way to do it.
It's 500 people.
That's nuts. But then you got those dudes yelling at you, where's the deer? You understand the language.
I could go on. We could do hours of the negatives of a small town.
Oh, yeah, there's negatives. Everybody knows your business.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody knows what you're doing, where you're going. There's pros and cons to everything. But I think you have a better opportunity and more pros when there's less folks.
I agree.
Yeah.
So small town Texas, or?
Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah.
I got ideas.
Nice.
Jamie's coming.
Nice.
Look at him. He's all excited.
Doesn't affect the business.
No, we're just going to do it from there. But that's the other thing is Texas has comedy. They have stand-up comedy. I haven't been doing, but I did one weekend in Texas while all this was going on. It was the first weekend I was able to do stand-up. But then my friends were in San Antonio, and they got COVID down there. But those knuckleheads were out there talking to people and shaking hands and taking pictures and stuff. And
Texas would be the last stand place to ever wear a mask or not shake a hand.
They wear masks, though. People were wearing masks last time I was there.
Well, I think now they're woken up, right?
This is a weird disease, man.
Yeah.
It's weird. You know, it's super. But now, again, I was talking to a neuroscientist yesterday who was saying the latest is they don't think asymptomatic people are contagious. And I'm like, well, what the fuck, man? I thought they were. I thought that's part of the problem.
Yeah. Now they've got something else.
They don't know. They don't know. They don't know if you can catch it twice. They don't know.
Yeah, I heard that's coming out now.
They think you can, and then they say it's very unlikely.
Antibodies are going away. And,
they don't know. They don't know.
You prefer stand-up over this?
I like all the things I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
scary getting up on stage.
It's exciting. It's not scary. Not anymore. The first time I did it was scary. After you develop a certain amount of proficiency, you know what's scary?
Oh, that couldn't have went any worse.
Is when you release
you
a
just
special.
went the complete wrong direction, buddy.
Then I have a whole new hour I have to write.
Oh no, I'm stuck behind my player.
Yeah, that's scary. Because then you go on stage, they see you, they're all excited, they think you're hilarious, and you got nothing. So you have to write a lot and you have to work it out, but it's just exciting. It's more exciting. I prefer the word exciting. It's just exciting. It's challenging.
A show like Netflix, when you did that for an hour, how many pages of material is that?
Well, it takes about 2 years. It takes
to write
year.
That.
Yeah, it takes really a year to write it, and then a year to polish it, and then add new stuff to it, and really figure out where it is. But each bit is many pages. It depends. Really, it depends on the bit. It depends on, how, I mean, a lot of it gets chopped. I mean, maybe I'll start out with like 10 pages, and then I chop it down to 1, and then the actual bit becomes 1 page. But how many pages did it take to correct the bit, or to re-edit and try it again, and a second draft, a third draft, and...
Are you testing it in front of people as you
have to. You have to. Yeah, stand-up you have to test in front of a live audience. You write... Sometimes I write bits and they are finished before they ever get to the stage. They're done. Like the moment I bring them to the stage, they're already done. But that's rare. Most of the time I have an idea and I think I know how it's going to work, and then I say it, but it doesn't work that good, or I have a new way to do it that's better, or I come up with a new tagline that changes the bit. It's a weird art form because you have to kind of do it in front of people.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people that are trying to do it like on Zoom. They're trying to do Zoom stand-up, but it's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, stand-up you have to do live.
It's like a Zoom workout. Not the same as...
No, but it's something.
It's something.
It's something.
Get people moving.
Yeah. Get people moving. Yeah. Yeah.
To make America fit again.
Yeah. So since you have all these other different things you like to do, you think you do too many different things. What are you thinking about pulling the trigger on?
What am I adding or taking away?
Yeah. What are you adding?
I love this kids thing. I mean, if you know, that's why I asked you about stand-up comedy versus the podcast or anything you do. If you put a gun to my head or a knife like you did earlier when you tested me, I like the kids. The kids are like wet clay in the sense that...
Can you make that?
I feel like I make an impact.
Was that really the best option you had?
I'm getting some 21 or 22-year-olds from very, very wealthy families that are saying, hey, Joe, they know me through somebody, whatever. My kids are they need some help. I want to put them on the farm with you. They're hard to fix. Yeah. By the time they're 21, 22, they're hard to fix. Right. These little kids... I make a big impact. I mean, the letters I got are tear jerkers after the text I saw them writing the parents about how terrible I was.
Yeah.
And then seeing 14 days later, like the impact.
Yeah.
I said no.
Yeah.
You know.
No, I think
it's not going in.
Right about that.
I will go 10.
If you can give a kid a transformational experience when they're young, something that really sticks with them.
That's the rest of their life.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
And the other thing I like about it is they can't really quit.
Right.
You know, if the parent gets involved, then it's all fucked up. But if the parent stays out of it, we're doing amazing. I'm doing another one right now.
Bro, shoot it.
I got another 20 kids there right now. And
they're there.
Okay.
Right now,
Who's cracking the whip?
Andy, the Olympian, the mountain warfare guy.
I
Eric,
feel like
actually.
you should have shot that.
They're kicking these kids' asses. And
so you're running this every 2 weeks with new group?
I mean, it's selfish for me because I want my kids to keep just re-enlisting, right?
Right.
And so I need more kids for them, and so I just hit up another group, and some of the old kids came, so this is their second tour, we'll call it.
Really?
Yeah, which is great. One of them's an 11-year-old girl that's just badass, stoic, and one of the older boys, I found out last night when I got to California.
I'm playing on fire on the defense.
You gotta get me out of here. You gotta lie to Joe and tell him we have a family vacation, get me the fuck out of here. And the dad,
how old is the oldest?
15, and the dad hit me up, and I said, listen, next time he talks to you, tell him we have an 11-year-old girl by his side that is finishing this thing. Are you kidding me?
Shit.
So you can't blame them because they've never tested themselves. They've never done hard things.
Right.
But I love it.
How are you structuring this? Do you sit out in advance and decide what they're going to do, every day? And
so Andy, the Olympic wrestler, when he 2008 Olympian, didn't medal, went to Russia, and he spent a couple of years in Russia to learn their system. Why do the Russians get all these gold medals in wrestling? And they climb mountains and they climb ropes and they just fucking work hard.
Mm-hmm.
And not that American wrestlers don't. And so we took a bunch of the Russian system, we took a bunch of the mountain warfare stuff, and then we just added the Spartan sprinkles in there and the stuff my mom...
Spartan sprinkles.
Spartan sprinkles. And so, you know, they're waking up early, they're hiking the mountain, they're doing miserable shit, carrying rocks, always purposeful. So we're building stuff out of the rocks. They'll be there for the test of time. And so they can come back and see the efforts of their work. And cold water is always involved because, as you said, with the shower, cold water sucks.
Do they drink only water as well?
They drink only water. All the Doritos, all that stuff is gone. It's only 3 meals a day. It's healthy food. Probably keeping them a little bit hungry because, you know, a lion is most handsome when it's hungry. We're not
Is that true?
Yeah.
So I can get a Red Bull?
I mean, it wants food.
I've never heard that.
Yeah.
Most handsome when they're hungry.
I mean, right? It's ready to attack.
Yeah.
And so...
Whatever you want to go over and get.
So yeah, in bed early.
Yeah,
we are issuing phones for 30 minutes. They get to text their parents or whatever. And
no,
we're doing 2 days on.
I can't
this
be
particular
pizza.
camp's much more wrestling focused. So 2 days on, and then one day they do a big hike. So they did a giant hike today.
So they do.
But yeah, leave it. I'll just try to get something healthy. You know,
even the first camp, I didn't say to you, we had a fight club every day.
Good
so
food, not junk food.
Some of them were wrestlers, some weren't. There were girls in there, never done it before, and we created like a Brad Pitt fight club down the basement with Andy. And it was awesome.
Dude,
kids
come on,
fucking loved that part of the camp every day. They loved it.
So they beat each other up?
I know.
They beat each other. It was wrestling, so it was smooth. He set the rules. It was like, hey, I just want you to get a high single leg. This is what it is, right? So they were game.
Jokes were jokes, but they didn't hit because you couldn't hear. Never mind. It's okay.
I gotta go, okay? I won't give you the cord.
Okay. Yeah, it's out there.
Got you some big red too.
Okay. That's not what I wanted, but okay. Dude, I'm getting so many stupid turnovers. Nice floater. Was that a floater? That wasn't a floater. Damn it, that wasn't a floater. Yeah, I see the way they designed it. They designed the tattoos so that you have to put them all on there at once, and you got to have a lot of VC in order to put them all on there at once. If you don't put them all on there at once, you have to spend that amount of VC every time you get in there. So these motherfuckers are just markability, caching, all that.
Hey, please don't go crazy and blow them, okay?
Well, no, I'm not that kind of person.
No, I trust you with it, so I'm giving it to you. Love you.
Love you.
See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Jeez, wow. Oh, gosh, man. All right, let's get an easy point right here. Thank you for the easy point. Where you at, Pods? Pods? No beach. Oh, I'm so slow. Come on, come on, come on. I'm so glad they're retarded. Why don't they pass it to him right there? Take it in, take it in. Nice. Good foul. Oh, yeah.
Games like that.
Oh, okay.
They loved it. They'd pound the mat. They'd be screaming for an opponent. It's almost instinctual or something. It was unbelievable.
It's great that you keep them from their phones for that long too.
Yeah, it was great.
That's great. If anybody wanted to get a hold of you and wanted to do that, how would they enlist their kid? There's probably a bunch of people listening, looking at their fat kid laying on the couch right now, going, "Bobby, I got something for you."
Yeah, so I give the whole world my email address. The only thing I ask is don't write me more than 2 sentences.
Hold on a second. Do not give your email address on this podcast. Just don't. You mean you're not going to be able to deal with it?
I answered 2,600 emails one day.
Okay, well, you're going to get 2,600 emails the very second you give out that email address. Just make them work for it.
Right.
What's your website?
Website Spartan.com.
Spartan.com. Okay.
Why don't you message me? On Instagram, right? And my guy that manages that will.
He's gonna have a fucking heart attack.
Fuck it. I mean, he gets paid.
Okay, and what is that on Instagram? What's the handle?
At Real Joe DeSena.
Okay.
All right.
At Real Joe
DeSena, and John behind the scenes will figure out how to get me the message.
Really,
and I hope you send me Bobby.
Up,
I'd love to toughen the kids up.
All right, beautiful.
All right.
Joe, thank you, man. It was a pleasure.
You're awesome.
I enjoyed it. I really did. Thank you very much. Goodbye, everybody.
I didn't know when you end, so I was like, I don't know.
Now nearing the end of a second decade of fighting in Afghanistan.
9/11 was the U.S.
Andrew, how are you? What's happening, man?
Doing great.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Really excited to talk to you about this. Just sort of for an introduction, tell people what you do.
So I'm a neuroscientist. Meaning I'm a professor of neurobiology and ophthalmology at Stanford School of Medicine. So I run a laboratory. I teach a little bit. I teach neuroanatomy to medical students. But mainly my lab does research. So I've got students.
Oh my God.
Figure out the answers to 2 problems.
If only.
First problem
If
is
only.
to generate the damaged nervous system.
I wasn't so fucking dehydrated with this fucking character. Like, come on, bro.
That's a
Why?
big mission of ours. And to prevent vision.
Why are you so slow? Just boost up.
And the other thing that we're doing is we're focusing a lot on stress.
I don't understand. I just wish I
I'm
did.
obsessed with the idea that all our states of mind come from the brain and the body. And we're trying to figure out what happens in the brain and body.
They're gonna
Stress.
double team me as soon as possible.
What happens in the brain and body when we are creative and how to control it. And essentially for all states of mind. But rather than try and tackle the really high level stuff like low.
Come on, let's get this game over
states
with.
of
I already know I'm not gonna
we're
make
really
this fucking
focused on the
shot.
states of stress and things like focus.
Come on, bro. I
and the
didn't even take the right
ability to think
shot.
clearly and do certain things.
Come on, bro.
Or
Fuck.
because first of all,
It's over. That was our one shot. It's over.
Control their states of mind.
And I didn't even get the fucking. I didn't run out enough. Oh my God! 5 seconds left. We're not gonna do anything.
That's an interesting way of putting it. Suffering because they can't control their states of mind. That is the case.
God, man, what the
That's
fuck?
not like a politically correct way of describing it.
Did you take me out first?
Well, I think it's fair
Give
to
me the
say
ball,
that
I'm not
all our
shooting.
states of mind and body, and I say mind and body because the nervous system, which is the brain, the spinal cord, and all that stuff,
It's literally over, you fucking retard.
connects to our brain. So we can't really separate those. But states of mind, which include
I only
the
get
stuff in our
12
skull
for that
and the
terrible
body,
game.
those essentially dictate our whole life experience, right? So whether or not we're feeling calm when we want to be calm, whether or not we're feeling stressed when
I get a lot of badges.
whether or not we are feeling focused when we need to do work.
Team just couldn't put it together because they're fucking dog shit.
All of that stems from the nervous
like
system.
usual.
The other organs of the body are involved, but the nervous system, the brain, and those connections is really what it's about. So if you see somebody who's in a state of depression, or you see somebody who's in a state of flow and creativity, you can be pretty sure that that's reflecting the activity of neurons in the brain.
It's the idea that the body and the brain are inseparable. Most people who are physically active accept that and appreciate that, and they know that this is probably true. But there's a lot of people that kind of want to deny that and concentrate only on the brain. And particularly, like, there's psychiatrists that will prescribe medication before they'll prescribe exercise. And this is, it's a controversial subject. That's what I meant by saying, like, that you are unable to control aspects of your brain, or aspects of the way you're viewing things, or the way you feel about things. But
yeah, so I think if we take a step back and we just kind of think about what the brain and nervous system does, and again, nervous system includes all of it, we can say the brain is special, right? This brain, there is something fundamentally important about the brain part, because it's somebody who, let's say, has a limb amputated. It doesn't fundamentally change who they are. It can change what they can do, but there will be aspects of their personality and temperament that might shift, but who they are hasn't changed. Whereas if someone has a brain lesion, or their brain is degenerating, that person is fundamentally different. So there is something special about the real estate in our skulls. But that said, the job of the brain is really to combine our experience of what's going on in our body with what's going on in our mind, and to react and behave to things in an adaptive way. So if I may, there's just sort of like, if we take a step back and just think, there are basically 5 things that the nervous system is responsible for doing. First is sensation. Sensation is non-negotiable. It's happening all the time. Sound waves are coming in, your feet are in contact with your shoes or the floor. That's all happening, and you can't control it because we have sensors, things in our eye, our tongue, our nose, our skin, our ears, that take physical events in the universe, photons of light, sound waves, touch, physical pressure on the skin, and it transforms that into one language, and the language is the language of electricity of neurons. Now, perception is the next thing that the brain does, and perception is all about which sensations we are conscious of. So if I say, the contact of your hands with the table, now you're conscious of it. That's just your perceptual window. It's like a spotlight. It just goes straight to your hands. So there's sensation, perception, and then there are these things we call emotions, which are brain-body states. They tend to make us either want to get up and move or stay still. They tend to make us think, this is a good place for me to be at mentally and physically, or I want to shift this. And then there are thoughts, which we could discuss in detail if you want, which kind of arise spontaneously. They're kind of running in the background all the time, like pop-up windows on a badly filtered internet connection. But we can also deliberately have a thought. Like I can say, that pad of paper to my right is yellow. I can decide that. In the same way I can do the 5th thing, which is an action. So you've got sensations, perceptions, feelings/emotions, thoughts, and actions. And all 5 of those include the brain and the body. But how much brain and how much body is shifted by a kind of underlying, let's just think of it as a tide, like the level of the tide, and that's the autonomic nervous system. So if I'm suddenly stressed for whatever reason, my perceptual window is going to shift. My eyes are literally going to change their focus. My world will become more like portrait mode. I'll see you, and everything else will become blurry. When I'm calm, I actually have panoramic vision. I can see everything around me. So my state, my internal state of alertness or sleepiness impacts all this. And in sleep, which is kind of the opposite extreme of stress, I'm not in relation to anything outside me. I'm not perceiving anything. I'm sensing things, non-negotiable. I'm not having real thoughts, but the thoughts are kind of disoriented in space and time. And behavior is done. You're lying down. You're sometimes paralyzed in sleep. So when I say states, it's really about this dynamic shift between what we're perceiving and how we're perceiving it. And we could go really in depth in this or not, but states of mind are fundamentally, I think, to me anyway, are the most important aspect of trying to understand how the brain works. Because ultimately, if you want to understand mental illness and mental health, if you want to understand high performance, which is something my lab is really interested in, if you want to understand any of that, you have to understand how these states of mind and body relate, because the autonomic nervous system, which is strongly impacting these states, is in the body. It is, the basis of it is connections between the brain and body.
So you're analyzing people in stress states, and are you doing cognitive function tests of these people in stress states versus people in calm, placid states? Like, how are you doing? Are you doing like similar tests, or?
Yeah, so there are two states that, like, we can take that whole tangle of mess that I just, threw out on the table and simplify it and say, look, there are two states that I think, if we could really crack, we could really understand the underlying neural mechanisms, and we could understand how people could get themselves into these two states, we would greatly improve human health and human performance, cognitively and physically.
Okay.
And those two states are the state of sleep, so not just the importance of sleep. I know you had Matt on here, so you're a great sleep researcher. Not just that sleep is important, but how to get better at sleeping, how to access sleep. So a lot of people struggle with that. And the other state is clear, calm, focused. Those two states for my lab right now are the target states. There's so many states, but if we can figure out how those work and how to allow people to put themselves into those states, I think it's my belief that we'll do humankind a great service.
Okay, so when you say sleep, the state of sleep, like what techniques are you talking about to achieve the state of sleep or do a better job of sleeping?
Yeah, so when people come into my laboratory, we essentially start pressure testing them from the moment they walk in the door. So we have a laboratory, we do some animal work, we work on mice, and we study states like fear and courage, and we're interested in what leads to winning in certain forms of competition between animals and these kinds of things, aggression, those kind of very primal states. We also have a human lab. So people come into the laboratory, we have an equivalent lab essentially to our mouse lab. People put on VR goggles, we wire them into a lot of gear that allows us to measure things like heart rate, breathing, we're measuring pupil size, eye tracking. And in some people, because they are neurosurgery patients, we have access to the brain. We drop electrodes down into the brain, record from the human amygdala.
So you have a hole in their head?
They have a hole in their skull. The neurosurgeons actually, which I am not, tell us that it's no big deal, right? That basically they look at the skull as kind of a poorly evolved device. They always tell me, you're much better off with a titanium plate there anyway. It's much stronger. So they don't have a problem putting a little hole in the skull. These are patients that have other issues, right? So
they're saying you're better off with a titanium plate than skull bone?
Well, if you're concerned about concussion or anything, if you really want to protect the brain, you could build a better device to protect the brain.
But isn't the real brain damage comes from the brain slamming against the inside wall of the skull?
Yeah, and
how's that going to be better with titanium?
Yeah, I mean, this is neurosurgeons, and they're in
foam inside the.
Yeah, there are synthetic materials that they use to protect against sloshing around.
Do they? How far do they go with this? Do they ever remove the top of someone's head and replace it with titanium?
Yeah, large portions, large windows. I've seen windows in the skull that are the size of an iPhone.
What?
Yeah, sure. Flip it open.
Oh no!
No, but now keep in mind
these are lid, a manhole cover for your brain.
Basically.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that available online? Could Jamie look that up? He's looked at it already.
Well, a guy who used to work in my lab, who's now at Neuralink, a neurosurgeon.
Oh, one of those guys.
One of those
guys.
guys.
Fucking bring on the AI hyper world. I'm scared.
Among other things. I mean, I think that. Well, I always say, all of human evolution is based on human neuroplasticity, the ability to learn and acquire new functions in the nervous system, or where our biology kind of cliffs off and can't support us in what we want to do, we build technology.
Right, and this is the idea. Innovation steps in and says, I've got an idea to accelerate this process. And then you get Captain Super Genius, who thinks it's no big deal, cut giant holes in the top of your head and stick these wires in there.
I mean, I think there's that version of it. And I think I haven't spoken to them directly, but except this one individual there. But, first of all, I don't think they're thinking about large windows in the skull unless there's a clinical need. They're talking about behind the ear.
It's about a quarter.
Behind the ear,
yeah.
The route in through the bone there. And the other thing is that I think it's very likely that the first 10 years of that work will be clinical in nature. Movement disorders,
yes.
Parkinson's, and of course, because I said that, they'll probably beat that by, 5 years.
Well, the quote that made me uncomfortable was when Elon told me you're not going to have to talk to communicate anymore. I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. Where are we going with this?
Well, this is interesting because, so I have a good friend who's a neurosurgeon at UCSF. We've known each other since we were little kids, since we were 9. His name is Eddie Chang. He's kind of the world expert. He's a neurosurgeon, but he's also the world expert in speech and language. And what he's been doing is decoding, essentially figuring out what neural signals come out of the brain that allow us to speak in a certain way. So let's say I wanted to build a device that would allow you to speak 8 languages tomorrow that you don't know today. The reflexive idea is that people like Eddie and people like me and maybe the Neuralink folks are going to go in and build chips that are going to stimulate the hippocampus and you're going to learn faster and do all that. There's a whole other version of this. And it gets right back to this issue of brain and body that we were talking about before. Now, speech is a brain thing. You think about what you want to say, maybe for a joke or here, and it's in your head. But it's transformed, meaning those nerve signals go in the form of electricity to the pharynx and larynx. And you say things like, hello, my name is, in my case, Andrew, right? That transformation is happening at the muscle. So in theory, if I know that in English, right, and I know the nerve signals that come out of that area of cortex, that speech area, that say, hello, my name is Andrew, well, I can take those, look at how it controls the pharynx and larynx, and insert maybe a little box. Maybe I don't even have to put it under the skin.
What's this shit?
Maybe it's a device that I hold. So that when I say, hello, my name is Andrew, but I dial it to Mandarin or French, I'll just say, and I can't do this because I don't speak Mandarin or French, hello, my name is Andrew. I'll think that, say it in English in my head, but my pharynx and larynx will say it in Mandarin or French.
But isn't the problem with the way language is structured in different languages? Like,
oh my God.
It wouldn't. I'm sure you've read translations from like Russian to English.
Sure.
It's really weird.
Very different.
That's 8 in a row I've missed.
Right. So this is really Eddie's work, but because we're such good friends, we talk about this a lot. One of the fundamental discoveries that he's made, and I should just mention, all these brain surgery patients, they have epilepsy or something else. There's a reason for opening up the skull and going in there. We're not just
curious.
There was a time a couple decades ago when you could do this kind of stuff, and there's some very interesting experiments that came out of that just because you could decide to
I can't believe that.
go in there and start probing around. But
good for one game and then it's just...
Yeah, there's obviously really interesting and famous
broken.
and kind of sad history around that.
No, you played a little too good with that jump shot. We're not going to make it good.
You know, a patient will come in, they'll do this, they'll record these areas, and what he's found, it's so interesting because let's just say with that same statement, hello, my name is Andrew, there's a neuron in my cortex that responds when I say that and when I want to say that. But if I just change it slightly and I say, hello, my name is Andrew, I make it a question, there's a neuron right next door that encodes that. Turns out there's a map of inflection. So regardless of language, there's a map of, it's not quite meaning, but there's a map of intonation and inflection in the brain. So in theory, because that map is so regular across cultures, he's looked now in Chinese-speaking people, in English-speaking people, and people who have a second language. He's even has some interesting data about people who have upspeak.
Okay.
Oh, I hate that shit.
Yeah.
That's a lot near where you live.
Yeah.
That's a San Francisco tech thing.
Is it?
Yeah, it's like what they're doing is letting you know that they're one of the tribe, okay? And we're all in this together, and I think like you do, and you can trust me because I'm unoriginal.
Well, it might reflect a subtle brain damage.
You think?
I think the data show that it's a distortion of the regular map.
I think it's the same thing as a Southern accent. I think you're just fitting in with your environment. Because I know people that have adopted that shit once they've gotten into the tech world. I'm like, hey, fuckface, you didn't used to talk like that.
Or the people that go to England and start speaking with a British accent.
Like Madonna.
Oh, did she do that?
Yes, she did.
I don't follow pop culture carefully enough.
Yes, she did. Yeah, I'm moving to Texas. I'm going to start saying y'all 2 weeks in. I'm giving myself 2 weeks. I'm going to try out y'all.
Well, some of this stuff is learned. Are you moving?
What the fuck?
I've heard rumors of that, but I guess, okay.
Are you serious? This motherfucker is that good at defense?
These maps have some regularities across people because when
I'm
we're
not
born
leaving
into
my
the world,
assignment. I'm trying to get the rebound.
We are not a completely clean slate. There's a kind of a map that expects the world, including language.
Oh, I don't know what I was thinking.
We can't expect that
they're going to be so much better than what they were on my team.
California, or Northern California for that matter. So the map is what we call semi-malleable. It's not a rigid, concrete, hardwired map.
So what makes you think that this upspeak is like damage?
Well, so I asked Eddie about this.
Eddie.
Oh my God, man, are you retarded?
Kind of. He is the.
Can you not shoot?
Language and the neural transformations and how it controls.
You can't shoot no more, can you?
And I said, "What's with the upspeak?"
I don't understand you.
He said, "Yeah, we see that sometimes, and I'm concerned about that." And when a neurosurgeon tells you they're concerned, you kind of go, "Okay, what are you concerned about?" He goes, "There's something wrong with the map." And this kind of, so maybe that's, it could be because of upbringing and
probably one of the only things you're good for is that and rebounding. The other shit, you just brick.
Plastic in childhood, but
it's like you're a little child, like you're in high school, like you're on a rookie league,
Neuroplasticity is a real thing, and I think.
What are you doing?
It's interesting you raised this kind of cultural component because, actually, it was Eddie's advisor, a guy named Mike Merzenich, was really the one who discovered adult neuroplasticity.
Can't make a motherfucking thing.
And my actually scientific great-grandparents.
Like an 8th grader, like an 8th grade center.
For showing there are critical periods, these periods of development after which the brain cannot change.
A bad one, like a bad 8th grade center.
Amblyopia and eye stuff.
That is how you play.
Merzenich came along and said, you know what, I don't buy that. And he started doing experiments with his students and postdocs where they would create an essential need or contingency. Like if the animal doesn't eat unless it learns something,
2% covered.
The brain can change. If you break down learning events into smaller, more focused events, the brain can change as an adult.
Trying to shoot more.
Any age. And so the strongest drive for adult neuroplasticity is focus. It's the ability to say, this is really important. It's making a soda straw view of the world. It's almost like being in a state of stress. And the best way to do that for a young person, and
I didn't even try to grab it.
Is these social pressures, if they're strong,
they just grabbed it.
Rewire the brain.
It's like he passed it right to him instead of me, and I was like,
we are in a state of
I'm dumb, I can't catch that.
Everybody is having to rewire.
It's like I didn't even see the ball.
So, just to sort of put
I wasn't really all that
ball of
tired.
some sort on the speech and language thing. I don't think brain-machine interface is going to be all about sticking chips in
but
the
still,
head.
let's get back to the upspeak thing.
Sure.
Why does he think it's damage? Like, what is it about upspeak?
Well, he just thinks that the map, which shows up kind of normally in I mean, this is probably the first time in human history people have used this upspeak. It's also the first time in human history people have typed with their phones.
Are we really that bad? Can we not make these little bank shots wide open?
Talking in upspeak, and it was like as clear as day to me. Like they were letting each other know that they're in the tribe. And I remember Jamie had a tech problem once, and he was on the phone with this lady who was doing upspeak when she was talking to him, and we both looked at each other like, ew, yuck.
It does kind of create a kind of visceral, like nauseous.
I can't trust those people. I can't trust someone who talks like that because I know you're unoriginal. Like you, not most of us are clearly, at least, mostly influenced by the people around us. But it's not just that. It's like you changed how you talk to fit in with this. There's a tech world. There's tech language. That's tech speak. It's English, but it's tech speak English. It's letting you know.
And there does seem to be a body response too. There's sort of a spinal extension.
I don't trust them. I think they're sneaky.
Well, I'll try and get the data from Eddie.
I'm being halfway joking here. If you're like an upspeak person, like, hey man, I've always loved your show, but then you said you don't trust people who talk like me. Joking, but also stop doing that. Stop fucking doing that. I know what you're doing.
I think Eddie would say that there's some distortion in the way they're using this map.
But how did it start? I think it started with one really smart person who's probably a little autistic who talked like that because they were trying to keep it together, and then everyone else was like, I want to be as smart as John, and then they started talking like that, and then it became a thing, sort of like accents. Like I grew up in Boston, right? They talk in a weird way, and I picked it up. And then one time I heard myself on television. I heard myself talk like that when I was 19. I was like, oh my God, I sound like a fucking idiot. What is wrong with me? Like, because I had only lived there at that time for like 6 years, but I had adopted a whole hog. And I was like, what's wrong with me? Like, I wanted to fit in. That's what it was. I moved there when I was 13, and I tried to fit in. And so I had adopted this speech pattern. I didn't realize it until I heard it. Like, you listen to a tape of yourself. You actually find out what you really sound like. You're like, ew.
Do you watch your performances?
I have to watch stand-up. I have to watch some of those. Podcasts, I try not to, unless it's important, unless it's like something that I need to watch over again. Like I'll probably listen to this one over again because you're probably going to say some things that you already have that I need to reflect on and research. And this is a very interesting subject to me, very important to me. And there's many different parts of this that I wanted to talk to you about, particularly how people respond to damaged brains and what can be done to repair damaged brains. And stress, what we were talking about earlier, states of stress and how they reflect on your ability to think and assess and resolve problems. Because it seems to me that, me personally, if I'm tired, if I'm like particularly working out, right? Like if I'm working out with like a Muay Thai trainer and he has like a particular combination that he wants me to do, if I'm exhausted, it's like my monkey brain can't put that combination together. I'm like, what do I do again? Left, right, low kick, body, knee to the body, elbow, clinch. Like, what is it again? Like, it's simple. It's very simple, right? But if I'm tired, it's not simple anymore. So what's going on? Like, why does being tired have an effect on the way you perceive things and what memory and combinations of things that you have to put together? And that's nothing. That's just being tired. That's not your life depending upon it, which is a huge factor. Right. And for fighters, there are many fighters who do really well in the gym when there's no pressure. They're comfortable. You look at them, you're like, wow, that guy's incredibly skillful. He must be incredible. Like when he fights, he must be amazing. Then you see him fight, and they just lock up. Like for whatever reason, they can't rise to the occasion. They are dwarfed by the moment. And whatever it is, whether it's the way they're perceiving these threats, the way their mind is just wired, or the way they have learned to handle situations. Maybe they have a series of bad memories that gets relayed every time they're in a situation, and they start concentrating more on failure than on staying calm and trusting the process, which is a big factor. Your training is supposed to come out almost in a Zen-like state. And when you're fighting, the whole idea is to maintain calm and maintain this sort of center as much as possible. And when someone's pressuring you and attacking you and talking shit,
bro, let me play the fucking game.
Weaken that center. What they're trying to do is break that up so you can't have a happy place. There's no happy place for you. And then you see people fall apart. You see them fold. And it's fascinating because it's not a physical thing. Like the physical body is still capable of performing, but there's something going on with stress where the brain can't send the orders to the body correctly. And you're so overwhelmed with anxiety or fear of failure or just the overwhelming reality of the consequences of making a mistake that you crumble.
Yeah. Well, this is why we're obsessed with clear, calm, and focus, or sleep as a good jumping off point for, because we eventually want to tackle all the states, but that's a good jumping off.
We're jumping all over the place, but let's we started with sleep, so let's get back to sleep.
So sleep and stress make a good sort of counter examples. But if we're just going to focus on sleep, first of all, sleep is the only time that you're in complete relation to only one thing, and that's yourself. It's also a time in which there's a core operation of the brain in wakefulness. This is especially apparent in stress.
What an
when it's
ugly
happening all the time, where your brain is trying to do two things in wakefulness. And I realize we're talking about sleep, but most of what your brain is trying to do is pass things off to reflexive behavior. So I don't have to think about picking up water. I don't have to think about walking down the hall. I just do it. I just breathe. I just move. I eat. I'm not conscious of it.